Saw script. HOA Karen demands all my ranch properties. Ruins me when told to no. Saw. It was just past 6 in the morning. I'd barely finished my first cup of coffee when I stepped outside and froze. There was this huge, bright red sign nailed to the gate of my ranch. My hands trembled as I held my coffee mug. The words on the sign were clear: notice of property seizure. HOA enforcement in progress. I blinked, thinking my mind was playing tricks on me. What the hell was going on? I rubbed my eyes and stepped closer. My heart started racing. The gate, once sturdy and locked, was now half torn off its hinges. There were a few strange vehicles parked along my drive, construction trucks, and 3 men in reflective vests, walking around like they owned the place. I didn't know who these people were, but the last thing I needed this early in the morning was a group of trespassers. And then I saw her. Karen. She was walking down the gravel road like she owned the whole damn county, in her high heels and that shiny HOA name tag glittering in the morning sun. The kind of woman who'd walk right into your house and tell you how to live, even though she hadn't earned the right. She had a clipboard in her hand, a folder full of documents marked confiscation. The moment she saw me, she stopped and looked at me with this smug smile. "You were warned," she snapped, her voice cold, her eyes like daggers. "You didn't cooperate. Now, the association's taking possession of all properties registered under your name." I looked at her, confused. "All properties?" I asked, my voice hollow, almost lost in the weight of what she was saying. My ranch wasn't just one plot of land, it was 5 parcels across 3 counties. I had spent over 22 years working, SAVYing, building this dream. This was my life's work, and now she was telling me it was all gone? "Yes, all of it," she said, her smile widening. "The board has decided you're not fit to manage these lands under community standards." I stared at her, dumbfounded. "But I'm not even part of your damn HOA." Her eyes narrowed, and she leaned in, her lips curling into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Oh, not yet," she said. "But you are now." I felt like the ground beneath me was slipping away. This couldn't be real. I was losing my ranch to some HOA board I never agreed to, some woman who didn't have a clue about what I'd built. As I stood there, frozen in disbelief, one of the men kicked open the gate to my livestock pen. My horses panicked. My chickens scattered. My dog, who had been beside me since I was a kid, started barking, confused, upset. That was the breaking point for me. I reached for my phone, my hands shaking. And that was the start of what would become the worst 3 months of my life. But let me back up a little. My name's Sam Jackson. I'm 54 years old, a veteran, and I've spent my life building Whispering Pines Ranch here in Henderson County. I don't come from money, hell. I don't even come from a family of landowners. Everything I've got has been earned through sweat, busted knuckles, and never, ever taking no for an answer. When I bought my first 5 acres at the age of 32, I had nothing but a dream and a truck full of tools. By the time I hit 50, I had 240 acres, barns, a fishing pond, cabins for rent, and even a guest lodge. It wasn't just a ranch. It was my dream, a place to give back. I hosted summer camps for kids, horse riding for veterans, and even set up a pantry in my big red barn to help out neighbors who were struggling. So when Karen Winston moved into McMillan Creek Estates next door, I thought nothing of it. She introduced herself as the new HOA president, all polite smiles and formalities. But something about her rubbed me the wrong way. She told me, "We're updating our neighborhood improvement plans. You'll be hearing from us soon." I figured she was just doing her job, trying to make the neighborhood look good. But 2 weeks later, I got a letter in the mail that changed everything. It was a notice of violation. They were claiming that I, a man who'd been VYing here for over 20 years, was now violating some HOA code. I called my lawyer, and he laughed. "Sam, you're not even under their jurisdiction. This isn't legal." So I ignored it. But then Karen started showing up at the edge of my property, clipboard in hand, taking pictures. Sometimes she'd come alone, sometimes with a man she called her compliance officer. The guy kept buzzing a drone over my fields. Soon enough, my mailbox was stuffed daily with fines. Dula 250 for ha-vying my tractor vy Cybele from the road. Dula 400 for unregistered livestock. Dula 900 for not responding to their citations. It felt like harassment, and it was organized. That's when I found out something that made my blood run cold. I went to the county clerk's office to formally reject their attempt to claim my property, but the clerk told me that McMillan Creek Estates had filed a petition to include my ranch within their zoning jurisdiction. I went straight to Karen's house to confront her. When she answered the door, she was all pearls and perfume, like she was about to host a dinner party. "You need to stop this," I said, trying to keep calm. "This is my land. You can't just take it." She smiled like a snake. "Oh, Sam, you have so much land. Surely, you don't need all of it. Why not let the association manage it properly?" I left, trying to hold back the rage. This wasn't just about money. It was about control, and she wanted to take everything I had. A couple of weeks passed quietly, and I thought maybe the worst was over. But then my property taxes skyrocketed. My bank called about discrepancies in my land records. I found out Karen had filed a lien against my property with forged documents, and the HOA board had signed off on it. I filed a counterclaim, but before the county could resolve it, Karen took matters into her own hands. One day, I walked outside to find her team of construction workers unloading fencing onto my land. I called the sheriff, but Karen had already gotten a temporary injunction. I was powerless. That was the moment I realized Karen wasn't just some petty HOA president. She had powerful people behind her. She wasn't trying to find a solution, she was trying to ruin me. I thought it couldn't get worse, but then Karen took to the news. Standing in front of a camera with 2 board members, she announced that McMillan Creek Estates was expanding its jurisdiction. She spun it like they were SAVYing the neighborhood. I was furious. They aired a drone shot of my ranch, making it look run down, overgrown. People online began to question my ownership. But I wasn't going to just sit back and let her win. I gathered every piece of EVY Denke I had, deeds, VY Deo footage, recordings of conversations with Karen. I was building my case. And then it happened. My cabins caught fire. I rushed to the scene, and by the time I got there, 2 of them were completely gone. The fire department ruled it arson, and the investigators found a canister of paint thinner linked to a contractor who had worked for Karen. That was my breaking point. Karen wasn't just trying to steal my land. She was willing to destroy me to get it. I fought back. I filed an injunction, but Karen kept pushing. The more I dug, the more I realized this wasn't just a legal battle. This was war. But just when I thought I had her, she pulled one last move. She froze my bank account. The money I had worked so hard for, all of it, was gone. I called my lawyer, Craig. "She's trying to starve me out," I said, my voice shaking with rage. "She wants me to break." But I wasn't going to break. I called the bank's fraud DVY Shaun, and after a few days, I had proof. Karen had lied. The wire transfer for my land payment came from a private inheritance trust, not from any HOA funds. When I showed that proof to the FBI, they took action. Within days, Karen and her developer were arrested. The corrupt judge was suspended. The HOA board was dissolved. But the damage was done. My cabins were gone. My reputation was on the line. Still, I stood there on my porch, the wind blowing through the fields. My land was still mine. And Karen? She had been taken down. It wasn't just about me anymore. I started a nonprofit, the Land Guardian Network, to help people who were facing the same battles I did. And that's when I realized this wasn't just about fighting for my land. It was about fighting for all of us. If you're watching this, and someone's threatening your peace, trying to steal what's yours, I want you to know this: you don't have to be rich, you don't have to be powerful, but you do have to be willing to fight back. Because sometimes the most dangerous thing in the world is a man who refuses to be broken. Thanks for watching. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever had to stand up against someone who tried to take what's yours? Drop your comments below, hit that like button, and subscribe so you don't miss the next story. And remember, if they try to take what's yours, stand your ground. Because sometimes the good guys win.